This show is sponsored by Infinite Zeal Syndicate. You can follow him on Twitter @_Infinite Zeal. He is a great liberty-minded fella that just wants to share the message of liberty and also has fantastic merch like this hat I'm wearing right now. You see me wear it on every show. He's a great gentleman, and I highly suggest you give him a follow because he's one of the good ones, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's get on with the show. Boom. Welcome to the BudsnReality Show. I'm Sean Collins, the guy with a lot to say, and we are back a year later with Mr. Mike Welch from Highland Paranormal Research. Man, how you doing, brother?
What's going on, my good friend? Good to hear from you and see you again.
I know, man. It's been a year, pretty much.
It has been a year.
We did the damn thing last year, and it was a really good time. It got a really good response. So we're doing the damn thing again this year. But the craziest part about last year was, well, there's a couple crazy things about last year. Number one, we recorded our show last year twice.
Twice, yeah. An hour and a half of like, by the way, you got 36 minutes of film.
Like, yeah, that was.
I got to call the next day, like, yo, bro, can you do this again? I'm like, all right.
That see what I could do. So bad. My wife was like, we only got 36 minutes of Mike. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, we only got 36 minutes of it. We did like a whole hour and a half show or some shit like that.
Dude, it was a long
I was like, oh my God, this is so bad. I don't know what.
But we were also dealing with a different company at the time.
Yeah, we were doing that was Riverside.fm.
Riverside, right.
Podcasters and people who record shit do not use that format. I'm telling you.
It was sketchy to say the least, no doubt about it. I actually had trouble just like signing in and doing all kinds of stuff. Dude, it was like a lot of hoops to jump through. It was a whole thing. And just as a guest, it was a whole thing. I couldn't imagine being like a, correspondent or, a proprietor of like, your show. Like, so for me, it was hard. So for you, I can imagine it was probably 10 times harder to get everything rolling. So
it wasn't about harder, it was about stressful. Like, I just had this guy, he just gave me an hour and a half of his time, and now I'm asking him to do it again. Like, what the fuck? And I still owe you a bottle of whiskey. I do owe you.
Fortunately, I've been friends with you for fucking 20 years. So like, if I didn't know you and I was like, you know what, go fuck that. Like, I ain't doing it again. You know what I mean? But like, no, I have no problem. I enjoy my time with you. Your podcast is dope. It really is. I love everything that you post and everything that you do. So I'm honored to be a guest again. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it very much. And, it's always good to see you, man. We've been knowing each other forever. Like you said, I mean, shit, we used to do some major damage together. Things that we probably shouldn't say on the live wire or whatever, just
right.
Because, the feds are the feds and the police are the police. So
we just had an hour conversation about our beliefs on political issues and everything else. And like, we probably shouldn't post that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So
with
that being said, I'm happy to dip into the paranormal and dip into the scary. And because it is Halloween, give me all the Halloween goodies. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, dude, last year, I was actually supposed to go on an investigation with you, and then I got sick, which totally sucked, because we did that show last year, and then like a month later, I was in the hospital. Like, my body tried to kill me straight up. We're not going to get into all that.
You were sick. Like, I was worried. Like, you were like, I've got some friends, like, I know people who have had what you had. I'm not going to like say whatever it is that you had because it's, nobody's business.
No, it's cool. Diverticulitis. I've talked about it before. The diverticulitis.
Dude, you were sick. You were sick. Like worrisome sick. Like, for real. And it was a little reality check for you and for, your fans and everybody else who, love you and respect you as a, I could say journalist or, podcast, legion or whatever. But like, you were sick. So like, I just wanted you to get healthy and do your thing. And I'm happy that here we are right now. You know what I mean? So
yeah, man, it's been a long year. It's with everything, we don't need to get into all that because it doesn't really matter. I'm alive, I'm breathing, all is well, but it got scary.
Absolutely.
But we were supposed to go on an investigation last year
Correct.
at the Jackson State Penitentiary.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now you went on to do that.
Uh-huh.
So we might as well start the show off right off the rip about the Jackson State Penitentiary, man.
Yes, sir.
What the hell happened there? Like, I remember seeing videos,
mm-hmm.
and the one video that you posted in particular was somebody walked across like the room.
Correct.
That wasn't you. That wasn't anybody you were with. That was a fucking ghost, dude.
There's no doubt about it. There's absolutely 100% no doubt about it. And I've revisited that video 15, 16 times. Like, and I tried to play the devil's advocate and be like, look, it could have been this, it could have been that. There's no denying, like, look, this person didn't move. I was there with 4 other people. Nobody moved. Nobody, shifted. We're all sitting there. I'm running my digital recorder. I'm running video evidence on my 4K camera. I've got my phone going. I've got other paranormal investigators running their, video evidence and audio recordings, SB7 spirit boxes, SB11 spirit boxes, thermal cameras, the whole 9 yards. And there was, as a paranormal investigator, you go into locations and you tiptoe through the tulips. You know what I mean? You don't talk. You don't talk unless you have to. Even going in locations where there's like, old creaky wood floors and, that going in, okay, like this place creaks right here. This spot, shifts or whatever the case may be. There was no denying what that was. And me as a paranormal investigator of a long time, tried to legitimately, cancel that out as like, oh, well, it could have been headlights from a car coming through a window, or like they're just I tried and there was no denying what it was. And then I talked to the other paranormal investigators that I worked with at that time that, they all believe the same thing that I believe. We caught what we caught, we captured what we captured. It is what it is. And that's the evidence that we have. So with that being said, yes, that place, I want to go back so bad because I didn't have a lot of time there. I really didn't. I want to go back really bad and spend I really want to spend the night there. I would love to go and like cell 316 and things like that and actually stay the night where there's been some notorious, murderers and gangsters and that kind of thing who've actually stayed there and, go there with a good seasoned group of paranormal investigators like myself and have that place without like your tourists and your history tellers and things like that, which is great. Like, God bless them. I love them. Without them, I wouldn't know a lot of the history of the place. But like, I want to go there with just dead silence, run my equipment and be able to just somber in the place. You know what I mean? Right. So that place was nuts. It was absolutely crazy. I loved it. I wish you could have came. I really do. And just
how much time did you get to spend in there? How much time did you actually get to go into that state penitentiary?
About 3.5 hours. About 3.5 hours.
Oh, that's not much time at all.
Mind you, right? And you gotta put in perspective that it takes 40 minutes to set up equipment, run cameras, run cables, run extension cords, run DVRs, DVDs. Make sure everybody's on the same page, collaborate with, teams like you and me are going to go here. You and her are going to go there, that kind of thing. Right. You're going to run the basement. I'm going to run upstairs. You're going to run this floor. You're going to run the cells, whatever the case may be. So, I mean, like in retrospect of actual paranormal time, I would say we probably spent like a solid 2 hours investigating it. You know what I mean? Which is still like a drop in the bucket compared to like what you should be able to do, So, and just like I was getting ready to say, like, I just recently invited you to the Heartland Music Hall, if you remember correctly.
No, I do remember this very much.
Yeah. Just about a week ago. And you didn't have to come. I understand that. That's great. Like, but it is a place that I've investigated before with my father and the rest of my team. and it was fantastic. It was a mecca. So we are actually scheduled to go back there on the 28th of October and investigate this place yet again. Thank you, Bob, for letting us, give us the opportunity to do so. He's the curator and the historian of the Heartland Music Hall. So with that being said,
that Sunday,
it's a Saturday. It falls on a Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah, it falls on a Saturday.
Yeah, that means I could probably pull that off.
Well, make it happen, bro. Like I said, right next door.
You just heard it here first, y'all. Buds is about to go on a paranormal investigation. Finally, with Mr. Mike Welch. We were supposed to do this last year, damn it.
Yep.
But
Music Hall, and right next door is the old school Heartland Cemetery, and across the road is another place I investigated in like a trifecta of investigating. Was the Cromane Library, which is, dude, like some of the evidence I caught there is bar none some of the best I've ever captured. You could ask my dad about it. My dad's got evidence on his phone, on his DVR, everything else, like the stuff that we captured. It was very unexpected. It's nuts. Like it's not a very old library, but it has so much history and it's so close to so many like other scary paranormal locations, hence the library, or I'm sorry, hence the cemetery, hence the Heartland Music Hall, Jacko's Pizza, things like that. Like it's this, there's like a 1 block radius that is just a paranormal mecca, and it's in Heartland, and it's like 20 minutes down the road from me. So obviously with that, like I love it. I'm gonna do the Heartland Music Hall and do like a little, thing at the Heartland Cemetery. So again, you're welcome to come. Bring Bubba, bring your wife. I'd be happy to give you guys whatever equipment you may need.
We're gonna do the damn thing. We got to do it because I'm actually bummed that I missed it last year. That sucked because I was really looking forward to that. Now take us through Jackson though, like because and for the people who don't know what Jackson State Penitentiary is, it's not just a clever name. It's an old school prison here in Michigan. Part of it is still used. Most of it is not used, and there's some stories that have been told and about that place, and not only ghost stories but paranormal stories, because they're two totally different things. Ghost stories and paranormal stories are two totally different situations, but there's been both coming out of there, and you got to do that. I wish you would have got more time there, but I just remember the one video, and you guys, and we'll get your plug at the end of the show about where they can find your stuff and whatnot. But
absolutely,
I remember somebody walking clear across your camera.
Yeah,
and that was not you guys. That was not any of
it. It wasn't. It really wasn't. And the thing of it is like Jackson State Penitentiary has always been a place that's been on my bucket list for years and years and years. So we were actually able to finally go there. And of course, we paid a little bit of money to, as a paranormal team to go there and have the place to ourselves for an X amount of time. So I went there and had all my equipment charged, my batteries charged, everything, batteries, fresh batteries. Because again, it's an expensive hobby. It really is. And we went there and got there at about 7 o'clock in the evening, and it was just the ambience itself. Like it was a perfect night for it. It was kind of foggy. It was dark. It was ambient. It was just had a natural, like kind of almost Halloween vibe to it when we arrived at the location. So there were some thunderstorms like earlier in the day, so like obviously the electricity from the lightning and everything else got everything else popping, and we went in there and it was just instant feeling, like an instant feeling of like this place is not like any other place that we've been to. Let's get the ball rolling. So we did. And it was I don't get scared a lot. I really don't get scared a lot. I've been to a lot of locations. I mean, several dozen locations in my life of very haunted and scary locations. And this place just had a different vibe to it, man. It was very negative. It was you're not welcome here kind of vibe. You know what I mean? And I'm not the only one who felt that. a lot of my paranormal investigators and everybody else who was with me had the exact same vibe. So we got in there, we set up our equipment, we made teams, you know, again, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. You go here, we go there, we meet in the middle, come talk to me in 2 hours, you know. And within like minutes, and I mean minutes, like within minutes of being there, I was like, bro, like this place is nuts. Like I did some research on the place prior to me going there and looked up some of the, you know, the prior inmates and the deaths of the location and that kind of thing after being told by the historian who gave us the walkthrough of the location of who's there and what to look for, et cetera, et cetera. And we used a lot of the information that he gave us, you know, in our paranormal investigation. And like he wasn't wrong. He was very on point. And it was just one of those things where it's like everything just came to a head. So we were there for like maybe 30 to 40 minutes. And it was one of those things like we're grabbing each other's shoulders. Like, bro, did you hear that? Did you see that? Like it was exciting. It was so exciting. And at the same time, it was like, this correlates with everything that he said. This also correlates with everything that she said. Or you go on the outsource and talk to these people who haven't even been there, but have heard the stories, and it correlated with everything that they said. So with that being said, I mean, like it's hard to distinguish or like, you know, differentiate the negative hearsay she say with the actual evidence. And it was just one of those things where it was just like everything came to fruition. It was fantastic. There's no doubt the place is haunted. There's no doubt that the place is stacked chock full of positive, but yet it's also negative energy, you know. And I would love to go back just because like I just feel like everything that we did there in the short amount of time that we had while we were there was unfinished. You know what I mean?
Right,
So I'm
right.
gonna do a lot more research. I want to write some stuff down. I want to like go there and I want like 3 or 4 hours by ourselves, no historian, no anything, and just do it. You know what I mean?
You
So
probably need like 24 hours there by yourself just to
I
really
would, and truth be told, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would literally, I would stay 72 hours if I was given the opportunity. I would stay in 4 different cells, the basement, and you know, a corridor for 72 hours, and just collect as much evidence as I possibly could. Because there's no doubt in the 2 hours of actual paranormal investigating time that we were, you know, able to do, the evidence that we captured in 2 hours it's unprecedented. Like it's nuts. And it's actually scary. It was actually scary to be there, you know. I had that bottomless pit feeling in my stomach. I was a little scared. I was like, you know, and everybody was, you know, we we're on edge a little bit because it happened so fast, right?
right.
So we were in there for 20 minutes and stuff started happening like instantly. We're like, holy shit, like what is happening? You know what I mean? So we got our shit together. We're like, all right, like let's do this. So we took like that, you know, offensive approach, and we're like, all right, we'll break up in teams. You do this, you do this, you go here, we'll go there, and you know, and we all came back with like very very similar, you know, evidence and experiences, even though we were in different spots. So with that being said, it was just one of those places where it's like it's up there on the list, man. It really is. It's just, and I'm glad I was able to finally like knock it off my bucket list.
That's awesome, man. Now, would you consider that, even though you had a short amount of time in there, would you consider that one of your more scarier investigations or creepier,
Oh,
anyways?
absolutely. Because in the 20 minutes that we were there in the beginning, I got more profound evidence and I got more physical feelings and the hair on the back of your neck standing up and your arms and the goosebumps and everything else. Obviously, it plays a part with the ambience of the place. You know what I mean? And knowing the history of the place and knowing
Right.
that you're walking into a place that has a, you know, a dark history. You know, it's the oldest prison in Michigan.
Right.
And right. So like you're going in there expecting something to happen, but like not keeping your hopes, you know, up because again, as a paranormal investigator, I've been to 1,000 places. And you're like, oh, this place is supposed to be the most haunted place in Michigan or the Mecca or all this, and you're kind of like, you leave a little disappointed. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you go to a place like this, which, mind you, it's huge. It's huge. It's a
Oh yeah.
massive, massive prison, and there's underground tunnels. There's basements. There's solitary confinement. There's just all kinds of things, where people have died. And like, there's just so much energy in this place. Now, mind you, again, while we were there, it was a dark and stormy night, like, like haunted, blah, blah, blah. It was a dark and stormy night. It was foggy, lightning was striking, but it really wasn't raining, it was misting, and it was just like, it just sent off a charge of energy through this place, which is like what you want as a paranormal investigator. You know what I mean? You
Right.
want that energy and like a little bit of electricity and a little bit of energy. And, they always say, like, the spirits feed off energy. Well, that place, like, it was like heat lightning and everything else was going on. It was just like, dude, it was perfect. It was like everything collided. It was just fantastic. So, like, I can't say it would be like that my second time or third time if I go there again, but in this circumstance, it really was. It was absolutely fantastic. We had a wonderful time. We were scared. We had a lot of stories to tell, and we did get some evidence. You know what I mean? I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like, we went over it, and
I saw some evidence for myself, and I was like, "Oh,
right,
that just
yep,
happened." Like
right,
that
yeah.
that wasn't you, that wasn't your dad. I've seen your
Nope.
pops before. Like that wasn't nobody on your crew. That was a fucking ghost.
That was a
Straight
full
up.
blown shadow figure that crossed.
Yep.
Full blown shadow figure, no
Yep.
doubt
Yep.
about it. 100%. So
Now from Jackson, what was your? Because I know you've done some investigations since, say that 10 times fast. But no, like, what have you done since? Like, let's get into some of that.
okay. Well, since Jackson, all right. Well, I've done a lot of, like, a little less of the paranormal, I guess you can say, as a more of I've been interviewed a lot. I've been documented and recorded a lot for movies or like for short films, that kind of thing. My good friend Ben Goldman from Afterlife Road Productions, what's going on, Ben? Um, Messaged me because him and his team investigated Evan Starr's Chalice with me a year ago to the day, to today.
No shit.
Yeah, today.
Okay.
Yeah, we went to Ypsilanti and investigated Evan Starr's Chalice, which is in Corktown in Ypsilanti. So I actually got some notifications on Instagram and Facebook today, like, oh, today's, this time 1 year ago, we were at Evan Starr's Chalice investigating, blah, blah, blah. So with that being said, we went together, and obviously Ben Goldman, fantastic at what he does. He really is. He's a novice in documentary filmmaking. He's learning, but he's great. You know what I mean? He's well known, and I love and respect him. I look at him as a friend, and we ended up making a little mini documentary of Evan Starr's Chalice. So with that being said, like, he asked me about 2 months ago to do a interview with him about our investigation at Evan Starr's Chalice, where we went to Highland East Cemetery.
Oh,
and he recorded me. Yeah, he recorded me
let's
there.
talk about Highland East real quick before we get into it. Now, anybody who's from Michigan, or at least from the area that Mike and I grew up in, Highland East Cemetery is actually supposedly, and I've witnessed with my own eyes, so I shouldn't say supposedly.
It is.
There's some shit going on there. Like, I don't know what to call it, but there's some, like, spirits there, or some sort of some other being outside of humanity that I've never,
like
I don't want to say
right? Like a portal.
I felt it.
Yeah.
You go to something like that, and I get, look, the hair on my arm standing up right now.
I know, right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Something about the cemetery, something happened there, or there's people in that cemetery that,
there's unfinished business.
There's unfinished business there, yes, for sure.
100%.
So, just to paint a picture for you guys, before he goes into his story, like, this cemetery is really legit. It's spooky as fuck. I would never go there by myself, by all means. Absolutely not. Even in the daylight, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near there by myself, because there's some serious energy that comes out of there. I'm a spiritual dude. I feel
Sure.
energy,
Yeah.
and like, and spirits and stuff like that. I'm very much a believer in angels and demons. And there's
Ooh.
something going on like that in that cemetery that makes me want to be nowhere near it, to be quite honest with you. And people like you go there and do the damn thing. Like, I
I
need
tell
to
you
paint
what.
that picture. Now go ahead. Like, I had to paint that picture of that cemetery.
Right. No, absolutely. And I tell you what, I've been to Highland East Cemetery. Like, again, I used to, like, my old house. I lived like 3 blocks from there, next to the DeGarmo house, the LaForda house on Highland over there
Yeah.
by 7-Eleven and that kind of thing. Those are all original structures and original houses from, like, the days of yore, if you will. Like, I mean, they've been there from the
Yes.
early 1800s, bro. Like, they've been there forever, right? So right next door, the DeGarmo house is the Highland East Cemetery, right across from McDonald's, right there. So I go, like, to me, I guess the difference is, like, I go to cemeteries because they're peaceful, and I enjoy walking around and looking at the old. I love taking pictures. I have tens of thousands of, like, cemetery pictures. I've got over 1 million views on Google with just my pictures alone. I'm at like 1.5 million views with reviews and pictures just on Google because of the pictures and stuff that I take, which is cool. Like, I just thought that was exciting. You know what I mean? Like, I never expected that, but, like, I've got 1.5 million
I
views.
remember you messaging me about that. You're
Yeah.
like, I have over a million views on this shit. And I'm like,
Like, just for
wow, dude, that's
just for
huge.
taking yeah, just for taking pictures of Eloise and, like, cemeteries and gravestones, because it's just like, I love that shit. I don't know why, but I do. So, like, I look at Highland East Cemetery, it's like a home away from home for me. Okay. I go there, like, when I need to, like, calm down and relax, and, like, I've had a stressful day. I'm gonna go walk around a cemetery. I know it may sound cryptid, but, like, I walk around a cemetery and I just kind of, like, relax. It's peaceful, it's serene, it's just enjoyable to me. So I told my good friend Ben, I was like, look, he's like, where do you want to meet up for an interview? He's like, I want to do this short film, and blah blah blah. Well, he's not far away. Him and his family live in the Waterford area.
Okay.
I was like, let's meet at Highland East. I was like, I know Highland West has a lot of, like, old school stuff, but Highland East, you still got your World War One, World War Two, your uh uh what is the word I'm looking for? The you know Civil War gravestones that have been around since, like, the early 1700s, 1800s, that kind of thing, which is all toward the front, right before Milford Road, right there.
Right.
You know, and I told him, meet me in a certain place, and he recorded me and did a lot of B-roll of, like, me walking and, going to a certain cemetery stone that I told him about, which I actually told you about last year, about the little boy who I won't say his name again. Right. But I
Yeah.
left him that Chris Osgood card, and I said, look, I was like, you want to play hide and go seek? And he said, you know, warmer, if you remember that.
Yes, I do
Yes.
remember that.
So yeah. So I showed Ben Goldman, the gravestone of that, and showed him where it was and the whole 9 yards, and again did some B-roll and that kind of thing, and ended up making a very short film. It was like 30 minutes long. It wasn't very long at all. It was actually premiered at the Festival of Oddities this year in Charlotte, Michigan, which I went to, and uh, he premiered it, and it was fantastic. Like, everything was done in black and white. It was very to the point. It was very heartfelt. It was just really good. He packed a lot in like a 30-minute short film. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And obviously he wanted to ask me questions about our investigation at Evans Stars Chalice in Ypsilanti from the year prior. So yeah, from that being said, like, I obviously, I've been in a little short film with Afterlife Road Productions and that kind of thing, and we're still collaborating, we're still talking. and still doing some things, together. We message each other almost every day about, I actually asked him, like, if you weren't able to go to a Heartland Music Hall, if him and his team can come, you know what I mean? So
right.
yeah, we're pretty close. And yeah, so since then, like, it's just been like I've done a lot of that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And I have done some investigations, obviously, but like some small ones. And if obviously you're from Highland, so the Huron Valley Council for the Arts, the old church right across from the substation.
Yes.
You know what I mean? On West Livingston.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I've been there like 2 or 3 different times. Well, of course, I've talked to the proprietor and the management over there. I don't want to say her name, but I'm welcome over there anytime I want. So that could be another potential investigation that me, my dad, and my team have actually gone to twice now. And the first time that you interviewed me last year, I told you about how the shelf came down.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
fucking wild, dude.
Yeah. Well, that was at the Highland, Center for the Arts. So the old yellow and brown church right across from the cop shop right there. So
of course,
yeah,
it's
man.
across from the cop shop.
Right across from the cop shop. Right. Of course. So I've got a lot of things in the works right now. I'm working on some things, and I'm still doing some small stuff, and just to kind of like fill the space, fill the void, fill the gaps, cemeteries and LOEs and that kind of thing. But like in the meantime, I've actually, Todd Bonner, if you know who Todd Bonner is, Todd Bonner was at the Festival of Oddities and watched Ben Goldman's, premiere of Timeless Spaces, by the way, which is the name of the show, the 30-minute short film that I was in. Timeless Spaces, you can find it on YouTube. Afterlife Road Productions on YouTube, Instagram or Facebook. You can find it on there. So anyway, Todd Bonner from Detroit Paranormal Expeditions was there, and him and I took some pictures and did some stuff, and we want to collaborate. Well, him and Ben are actually doing a little haunted history of Detroit and outside Detroit, like museums. That's actually going to be published and shown on PBS here in a very short amount of time. So, there's just a lot of stuff going on right now, and it's exciting, and I've got multiple paranormal investigations lined up for the next, probably couple months, because it is spooky season, and this is the best time to do it. I do probably like 1 or 2 paranormal investigations during the summer, and come October, November, December, maybe even January, I'll be in the dozens. Like, that's just how it works. You know what I mean? So just because it's spooky season, this is just kind of how it works. So I start sending out emails and talking to other people and networking and that kind of thing, and get the ball rolling. So it's exciting right now. Right now is this is my Christmas right now.
Well, we like your Christmas. At least I do anyways. I'm into this type of stuff as much as it's spooky and maybe a little scary or freaky or whatever it may be. I dig it. I'm a big horror fan. I'm a big like I said, I'm a believer in angels and demons and stuff like that. And so, this stuff is always quite intriguing to me. But before we go to our commercial break, because I have commercials now on this show. You wouldn't
commercials, bro.
I know, man. Like I got to pay the bills and their sponsors
Big
and
time,
stuff.
Bro.
So let's leave a teaser before we go to commercial break, though. We're gonna come back with your scariest moment right after this, and we will be right back. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Clothing is a great way to express yourself and strike up conversations. Anarchy Wear happens to have things that do both, such as this shirt that says Reed Rothbard. I love this shirt more than anything because it struck up the most conversations I've had with people because they want to know who he is. And it's a great way to spread the message. Also, they have things like this behind me. Yes, it really says that. And they also have t-shirts and hoodies that say that as well. I have them all. You can find them at Anarchy Wear, on Twitter at Anarchy Wear, on Facebook at AnarchyWear.ca, and also Instagram at AnarchyWear.ca. I would love for you to check them out. Get yourself some gear, get yourself some banners. They're great people. They love liberty. I highly suggest you check them out. All right, we're back. And anyways, Mr. Welch,
Yes, sir.
we need to go on an adventure
Yes.
onto
100%.
your most craziest investigation to date. The one that makes your skin crawl, that keeps you up at night. You know, even though you're a paranormal investigator, I have a hard time believing that some of this shit doesn't scare the hell out of you.
Oh, and I'd be lying if I said it didn't.
So, like,
that's
what
half the
would
fun.
be what investigation, what year, what time, you know, the date and time and location was one that really like made you say, whoa, this is
Okay.
scary as fuck?
Okay. There's two. All right.
Yes, let's hear them.
All right. Number one, the Doherty Hotel in Clare, Michigan. I took my dad there for his birthday in 2019, and my stepmother came along. And you know my dad and Aunt. So they came along. I took my dad there, and we had the entire, and I mean the entire hotel to ourselves. Okay. A very, very, very old, very notoriously haunted hotel to ourselves. And of course, we brought the mecca of like paranormal equipment, the whole nine yards. I actually asked to stay in the most haunted room in the Doherty Hotel. So I stayed there with my ex-girlfriend at the time. And my dad stayed right next door with Ann, the whole nine yards. And we had all three floors, every hallway, every room, everything. I think there might have been one person staying there the entire time. We had the whole place, the bar, the basement, everything to ourselves. So I was actually able, unlike, you know, Jackson Prison and that kind of thing, I was actually able to spend 10 hours of like just pure, just deep investigation. Like I went through 6 rolls of film. I went through 15 batteries. I went through, like, I investigated until my dick fell off, like for real. My dad did too, like for real. Like I was like, I am not leaving here without something. And we did not, like, mind you. This place, I tell you what, I went in there kind of like haphazard, like, okay, yes, paranormal, it's haunted. I've heard a lot of the stories. I've heard this, I've heard that, the other thing. This place, it was like it just opened up its doors for us. It was absolutely, bar none, like the most active, not necessarily haunted, but like not scary, but active place. It was constant. It was absolutely constant. I mean, there wasn't 20 minutes without going like, holy shit, dude, what was that? What was that? I'm getting like readings on my EMF detector. I'm getting digital recordings on my, digital recorder, EVPs on my digital recorder. I'm getting video evidence. I'm getting this, that, and the other thing. And my dad and Ann and everybody else too. And again, she's an amateur. She's just like along for the ride, but she's having fun, you know, and she's getting stuff. And I'm getting orbs and I'm getting this and I'm getting that. It was just nonstop to the point to where like it's 4 a.m. I don't want to go to sleep. I'm like, there's so much things happening right now. Like it's just, of course, you hit that witching hour, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Let's talk about the witching hour real quick though before we go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is the witching hour a real thing? Because I happen to believe so. Like, I believe it's 3 o'clock in the morning is the magic number for the witching hour for like some very, spooky, paranormal, scary, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what to call this stuff.
That's when the veil is as its lightest, is what they say. The veil, the paranormal veil, the horror veil, whatever else is at its thinnest. So at 3 o'clock in the morning is when you are more apt and tuned to be able to communicate with the dead, the paranormal, or anything like that. Why? Nobody really knows, but it just happens to be the witching hour. It's been going on for 300 years. Why the witching hour is the witching hour. But
they talk about it in movies. I mean, the witching hour is the thing in the horror flicks. They're like 3 o'clock in the morning, hey, this is gonna happen.
If you go to like Devil's Night or like Halloween Eve at 3 o'clock in the morning, the veil is at its thinnest. It is what it is. Like rhyme or reason, right? Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason. It just is what it is. But if you're investigating and you're going to a haunted location, like you really, really want to focus on investigating and trying to catch and do things at 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning, because that is when the veil is at its thinnest. You know what I mean? You're
Is
gonna
that when it's the most live though? Is that when like is
yes,
that when you see
yes,
your most things, I guess, per se, is between
100%.
2 and 3?
And a lot of times, obviously, as a paranormal investigator, you want to investigate in the night because you're less apt to get outside pollution, okay, lights, music, noise, anything like that during the day. You know what I mean? This is why we do this at night. It's not because it's darker or spookier. It's because there's less outside influence. You see what I'm saying? There's less outside influence and there's less noise, less visual distractions, less anything. Everybody's in bed, everybody's asleep. So this is when spirits roam. Okay. And it's not because they died at this time. They could have died at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It doesn't matter. This is when the veil is thinnest. So you want to investigate at this particular time because this is your best chance to actually get, conclusive evidence of paranormal, whether it be visual, audio, whatever the case may be. So between midnight and 3 o'clock in the morning is when I've had some of the best evidence I've ever had. I'm not saying that I haven't had ridiculous and profound evidence at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because I have. I really have. But, we investigate at night as paranormal investigators for that reason and that reason alone. That's all.
Now, what would you say out of all your investigations? Because you've been on quite a few now at this point. You've been doing this for a while.
Yeah,
What one scared the living shit out of you? What was one that you went home going, I need to leave the lights on. I don't know if I can sleep tonight. Like, what was one investigation that bothered you or scared the hell out of you? Like, what was the one that really did it?
Northville Psychiatric Hospital, which is no longer there anymore.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Where the tunnels used to be.
Yeah. Northville put a stamp on me, bro. Like Northville, we went there just on a whim. Like it wasn't planned. It wasn't like a paranormal investigation. We went there and we kind of like maybe snuck under a fence or two. You know what I mean?
That's how you sneak into the tunnels. We used to do that too.
Right. Okay. Now, mind you, even like when we went there was only like 6 buildings left. There wasn't a lot. You had your intake building, you had your the ward building was there, and then you had your like outsourced hospital building or whatever it was. So like we went there and everything, of course, is overgrown and there's fern and everything else. Like you actually kind of had to like, you didn't have to force a door open, but I mean, like, it hadn't been open in a hot minute. You know what I mean? So it was just me and my ex at the time. It was just kind of on a whim, and we parked way outside and we kind of went under the gate and walked the trails and went all the way up there. And we're like, okay, like, let's figure this out. Like, we might go to jail, we might not. Like, but fortunately, we were never caught. So we went there, and this place, bro, like it's everything that you see in movies. It's the flaking, chipping paint, the lead paint that's hanging off the walls, and the graffiti, and the debris that's in the hallways, and the rusty metal doors. And it was a horror movie. It really was. It was a fucking horror movie. Okay. And we went in there and we kind of took like a deep breath, looked at each other, and we're like, well, here we go. All right, let's just run our equipment. Let's just see what happens. And we did that. And we were in there for, just the main, admittance building. We were in there for like an hour and a half. And I was in there for like probably 30 minutes or so after like, taking pictures and running my digital recorder and my EMF detector and that kind of thing. And getting some hits and like hearing a couple things that might be conspicuous, And then we get to like the hospital. Okay, I guess you could say it's the hospital. It's the admittance building for suicidal residents. Okay. Once we're on
Psych
watch.
ward.
Yeah, it's a psych ward, but it's like a little more hospital-y. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
there's a lot more like, equipment and, hospital equipment and that kind of stuff there. All right. Now, mind you, there's desks with tons of paperwork, pulled out, and people's admittance forms and people's psychiatric information and people's, diagnosis, all over the place. And I'm picking up paperwork, which I own a lot of this stuff, by the way. I did
Okay.
take a lot of stuff from this location. Not recommended. Don't do it. Don't go to a place and take stuff. Like, seriously. So, like, I'm telling other paranormal, just don't do it. Like, but with that being said, I'm walking around with my 4K digital recorder or camera and my digital recorder running. My ex has got the, my thermal and my EMF detector going. And like we're going up and down stairs, second floor, third floor, that kind of thing. And I'm being told that's not the way to go. Like clear as day. Don't go that way.
Who's telling you
Wrong
that?
way. Uh, it was a EVP. I have no idea.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think I sent you the picture a couple years ago of the little girl who was hiding behind the desk of just random pictures that I was taking.
Oh yeah, yeah. Fuck
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Fuck.
with a face. Yeah, and she was just peeking in
Whoa.
the corner, like like that kind of stuff. And it was just more the ambience or anything else, but like that place just had a dread about it. It was depressing. It was sad. You walked in and you just wanted to cry. Like it was just it, it was physically and mentally, it just hurt. You know what I mean? Because you knew like what people had been through and what, everybody had, it was just sad. Okay. So that played a part, obviously. But having gone through there for hours and running digital recorder evidence and EVPs and cameras and thermals and EMFs, we captured some of the best evidence I've ever captured in my life. You know what I mean? But it wasn't just like, oh, we caught a voice. No, it was legit. It was scary. It was a scary place where we left and we felt refreshed after we left. Like it was like, dude, I'm glad to be out of it. Like it was disheartening. It was heavy. It was thick. It was just one of those places where like if I was asked to go again, if every building was still there, I might be a little hesitant. Like it played a part on you, man.
What
It really
actually
did.
happened there that freaked you out so bad? Or was it just the vibe or the feeling that while
The
you were
vibe and the feeling was like 60% of why I wouldn't go back. The rest was obviously the little girl peeking over the desk.
that was wild. I saw that.
Yeah. The other was going down in the tunnels, and I made it about 150 feet before I was like, I'm done. Like, no, dude, it's so dark. It's so scary. There's glass and debris and everything else over the ground. So, of course, there was a little, like, personal health factor involved. But, like, when I got, like, the EVP, you're going the wrong way. That's not the way to go. The other EVP, it says, you don't belong here. The one that says in the hallway, I was walking down the main corridor of the hallway of the admittance building, and he says, you don't want to go in this room. So it was mostly female. I'd say probably 4 out of the like 6 main EVPs that I got were female. But how close the male going down the hallway in the admittance hallway said, you don't want to go in this room, and how like disgruntled and angry he sounded. He was like, you don't want to go in this room. Like it was, I was like, all right, like I don't want to go in this room. I don't want to like for real. And I didn't realize a lot of this stuff until after you go home and you examine your evidence and go through everything. But I was like, holy shit, dude! Like he was right here. Like he was so effing close. It like even thinking about it today, dude. Like it just puts hair on my fucking spine. Like it really does. It's nuts. That place is it's and it's still like even with all the buildings down, it's gonna be haunted. It's just gonna be haunted. the grounds are going to be haunted.
Well, they're rebuilding it is what they're doing. They're going to rebuild that facility, but not nearly as big. It's only going to hold like a couple hundred people,
really. A couple hundred people.
Compared to where like it held hundreds of people, possibly over 1,000 before. It was a huge,
yeah. Yeah, I think the number was 1160. Like it held 1,160 people, 1,180 or something like that. But like 54% of those people were like legit LOEs, like psych ward crazy people. You know what I mean?
Right.
A lot of them went to this place in hopes of being transferred to LOEs. You know what I mean? Well, not in hopes, but like actually got transferred from LOEs to this place because LOEs could hold more. You know what I mean?
And Eloise has a story to tell as well. Like,
oh, dude, I've
more of a story than
I've done numerous investigations at Eloise. I've stayed the night at Eloise.
Well, let's talk about Eloise. Let's go to Eloise. Let's do that.
All right.
Now, where is Eloise exactly? Like, what city is that in?
That would be in. I keep wanting to say Westland, but it's not Westland. It's where is it, Westland? Anyway, it's 40 minutes from my house, 45 minutes from my house. It is one of the oldest and continuously ran psychiatric hospitals in the entire United States. It was actually the biggest psychiatric hospital in the United States all the way up until like 1996, you know, when it was overtaken by like Pennhurst in Pennsylvania, or, you know, a couple other ones. I forget the one in Kentucky, but anyway, you've seen it recently on, you know, Expedition Unknown, or it's you've seen on Destination Fear. The place has a natural ambience about it where it's just naturally terrifying. You know what happened there without knowing what happened there. Okay. And I go there, I've gone there for book signings, I've gone there for paranormal investigations, I've gone there for haunted locations, which now, mind you, like they've kind of turned it into a haunted location during like Halloween. And
well, yeah, they have Eloise Haunted House here. That's kind of
like I'm kind of like about. Okay. I've never been a fan of that. You don't turn a real haunted location into a haunted location. You just
now,
don't.
why would you say that? Because bad shit could happen?
It's not only that, it's just disrespectful, in my opinion. This place is already haunted. This place already has crazy history. You've had thousands, tens of thousands of people who have died at this location. And it's almost like you're making a mockery, all right,
yes,
of the history and the people who have died there and the people who probably didn't deserve to be there, okay, who died there. And now you're turning it into a festival almost of, oh, look, it's haunted, and it's a haunted location. It's a naturally haunted location. And let's go there and almost like ridicule, criticize, and like, you know, torment the people who were actually still there as spirits. Like, it's just, to me, it's almost disrespectful. I'm not going to say full-blown disrespectful, but I just get that vibe. Okay. I would never like own or operate a Eloise asylum. Okay.
Right.
That I know the history about. I know how haunted it is. It's been on every Travel Channel network, every Discovery network, of how haunted it is, and turn it into an amusement park, if you will. You know what I mean? That to me is just kind of, it's just kind of shitting on the spirits and kind of shitting on the whole vibe and ambience of what it is as a place, as a building, as a historical monument, because that's what it is. It's a historical monument. Okay. They've already torn down like 1/4 of all the buildings that were around there, from the power plant to the hospital and everything else. And you got the main admittance building that is still there. Okay. And a couple little side buildings and that kind of thing. But you don't make a mockery of history and the tens of thousands of people who died there by making it a haunted attraction. It's already haunted. It doesn't need any fucking help. You know what I mean?
Right. Do you think something bad could come out of that? Like, do you think, like, hypothetically, you know, you're a paranormal investigator, you would know better than me, but you know, they've made a haunted attraction out of this location here in Michigan.
Yeah.
Do you think that something wild could happen because of it? Like the
Oh,
spirits
absolutely.
get angry
I
and
think a
like,
spirit
you
get
know, really hurt people that are
and
over
pissed
there.
off, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
I think yeah, absolutely. He's like, enough is enough, or she's like, enough is enough. This is some bullshit. Like, I am not a fucking puppet. I am not like a sideshow. This is not. This is not how I wanted things to be. And you've got all these costume actors and everything else, and
right.
some of the most haunted rooms on third floor and second floor and the basement and everything else, spooking and scaring people when there's actual spooks and scares there, you know, by ghosts. Who that's not their intention, but you know what I mean. Like that's only going to trigger and piss off a lot of the spirits that are there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, look, we've lived here. This is like where my soul dwells. Okay, I've been here for 100 years, and they're going to bring in like costume actors and all this other stuff and start stirring the pot, and you're going to end up pissing off like one who's maybe a little bit stronger or a little bit more powerful than other ones, and somebody might get hurt. And there's no doubt about it. Like that shit fucking happens. It really does. You know what I mean? So like again, you're talking like not just one of the most haunted places in Michigan, it's one of the most haunted places in the entire United States. It really is. And per capita, like the death ratio in Eloise per person is bar none, right up there with your Penhursts and other notoriously haunted and asylums. It's just it's notoriously haunted. It's notoriously scary. It doesn't need any help being a haunted location. And I'm not going to sit here and bitch and complain to like the curators or anybody else who are doing the haunted location, but like it's just one of those things where it's like leave well enough alone. Okay.
Right.
It's they don't like it. The spirits don't like it. They don't. They really don't. Much like you go in there with a film crew or anything else. They're not gonna like it, but at least you're rolling in there 4 deep and you're being quiet and you're doing your thing as a paranormal investigator and you're just trying to collect evidence. You're not sitting there with like strobe lights and black lights and people are dressed up like monsters and all this other stuff. That pisses them the fuck off. It really does. I experienced that on the Detroit or on the USS Edson in Bay City because they have a haunted thing during October. You know what I mean?
Really?
And
Okay.
like, oh yeah. The battleship, the USS Edson.
Yeah.
Um, they have a haunted thing. It's called the Edson incident. And no disrespect, I love the ship. I've been there 1,000 times. I love Anne LaFave and everything else. But like, you know, you take real haunted locations. You know what I mean? And you turn them into spectacles. And it's almost, again, I feel like it's almost disrespectful. It almost feels like a joke to the spirits and the people who've died in the history and the you know everything else that has happened to these people, where they're like, oh, I'm just a joke now. I'm just this. I'm just that. Like it's no. You want to go there. You want to learn the history. You want to talk about the names. You want to learn the names. You want to learn the history of the people who have died there. You want to do some real recognizance on the people who have passed away and learn the history. You don't want to turn this into a haunted spectacle. You just don't. And that's just the way I've always felt about every haunted location. If it's a haunted house, like a real legit haunted house, you go there and you open it up for the paranormal community and charge or do whatever you can, but don't turn it to a Halloween mecca. You just don't. You know what I mean? Because it is. I just feel it's disrespectful to the ones who still live there and have for 130 years. You know what I mean? So,
Well, I get that. I totally get that. Now, have you ever gone on an investigation or gone somewhere? It doesn't even have to be an investigation. Anywhere, maybe you just went and checked it out or went sightseeing or whatever. Have you ever brought anything home with you that
oh, bro,
like has anything ever come home with you to your house?
absolutely, 100%.
Take us through that.
So here's another thing, which I probably shouldn't admit to, and I probably shouldn't have done. I always like to take a little something something from every location I go to,
Oh shit.
whether it be a rock or a stone or a piece of wood or a picture, that I find whatever the case may be. I have kind of like a little shelf that I have a piece of Eloise. I've got pieces of tombstone from other cemeteries and locations that I've been to. I've got a trinket picture from Charlotte, Michigan, the old asylum in Charlotte. You know, that kind of stuff that I kind of just keep on its own shelf. Okay. And it's not recommended. I wouldn't do that, but it's just like, it's kind of like a personal thing where I'm like, okay, well, you know, this, I've been here, I've done this, that kind of thing. Well, like, there's been a time or two where that has come back and bit me in the ass. Okay. So you take things from locations, whether it be cemeteries, a piece of a gravestone that's just laying on the ground, you know, or a picture of a old Victorian picture of a young girl. You have no idea who it is, from a sanitarium from 130 years ago. You know what I mean? That you just find in the rubble in a basement, or a piece of stone from the original foundation of Eloise Asylum, right? And you put all that stuff together in the casement or a shelf or whatever the case may be. Well, you have to understand that a lot of these places are just filled with nothing but energy. Okay. Now, a lot of these things and places are built with limestone. Limestone is a porous stone.
Yes.
That absorbs energy and is basically just a video recorder of everything that's happened in the past. Okay. Whether it be 100 years ago, if somebody poked their finger and started bleeding from a needle and it fell on a hardwood floor. Okay. Or look, so many bad things happened in Eloise, and you take a piece of stone from Eloise. Okay. That, like just natural absorbent energy and ambience from everything that has happened in the past, especially with a limestone or any kind of quarried stone that absorbs energy, you're taking that back home with you. Okay. Now I've got a lot of like artifacts and like, you know, things like that from paranormal investigations that again, I wouldn't recommend doing. Okay. I wouldn't suggest like, oh, well, let me just take this piece of headstone. Like, but like a lot of times I don't even realize it's a piece of headstone. It's just like a little piece of rock that I'm like, okay, you know, this is from this investigation, or
Right.
vice versa. Or this little piece of wood's from this, or this little piece of cloth is from this investigation. But you don't understand, like this all holds energy. Okay. And yes, I've taken home many things. I have. I still think where I'm recording right now, it's a tiny little trailer. Like I still think this place is haunted. Like I hear things all the time, constantly. And I think I told you this last year. I hear footsteps, I hear this, I hear that. I wake up in the morning, things are moved. And it's not because I think this place is necessarily haunted. It's because I think that I brought home some stuff, you know, that I probably shouldn't have, and they're here. It is what it is. But again, like I think I told you last year, we went to Zach Bagan's Haunted Museum in Las Vegas, and that place, there's more paranormal and haunted artifacts in one square location than any other place in the world. And I'm talking like, oh, this is a haunted house. No, I'm talking like serial killers. I'm talking the most profound mass murderers and scariest locations in the world. Okay, under one roof. That place is just a vessel of energy, and it absolutely. If you're a little sensitive, like I am, because I'm very sensitive, but I'm not a psychic or a, you know, anything like that by any means. But like I am sensitive, and when I feel, you know, and I can tell a place is haunted, or I can tell that this, that, the other thing. This place, bar none, was I was not right after this place. And I think I told you the story, like how I came home with the cats in the trees, and how like my ex was burning sage and I took a bath with all these cleansing salts and all this other stuff. And I had that fucking demon chewing on my goddamn skull. Dude, it was, I've never in my life experienced anything like that. And I'm not just saying this just to say it. Okay. I'm not going to repeat the same story that I said like last year. Okay.
Right. Right.
I remember it like it was yesterday, still to this day. And I could say in detail, just like I said it last year. It fucked me up. Okay. I've never experienced anything like that. I never want to experience it again. I was not right. I wasn't right for 3 or 4 days. I was not right. I just know I wasn't right. I was out of my mind. I was out of my body. I can't tell you what happened, how it happened, but it was just happened to be, after I went to Zach Bagan's Haunted Museum and all the fucking problems that we had on the plane on the way home, all the problems that we had trying to find the Grand Canyon, all the problems that I had in downtown Las Vegas at the D Detroit, all the problem, like, I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. Like after we went there, it was just, dude, it was dude, I can't even, it just fucked me up. It was scary. I got home, 6 cats in the fucking tree. And all of a sudden, like, I'm angry and I'm pissed off and I'm like out of my mind. You know what I mean? To the point where like my ex is burning sage and like opening windows and she's like, you need a Epsom bath. Like shit was crazy. Crazy. I woke up in tears and cold sweat, like crying, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It's just, what's wrong? I'm like, dude, like demons are chewing on my fucking skull. I felt the bones in my skull. Like it was just, yeah, I've taken things home. I have. And that's, you know, part of the risk you take being a paranormal investigator is not about taking objects from places. It's not. Because again, 90% of the places I have not taken objects from. But if you communicate and if you relate and if you feel something at paranormal locations and you are actually like interacting with a spirit and one particular spirit individually, you know, like they can attach themselves to you regardless. They can. They like you. They like what you have to offer. They think that you're nice and you're talking to them in a nice way, whatever the case may be. And you can just take that shit home with you. Like it happens. You know what I mean? It's not out of the realm of element or anything else. Like this is a real thing, and it's scary. It is, but you just have to know how to handle it. Now, believe me, I've got myself my own little like, sage box, and I burn, you know, sage, and I've got candles, and I've got this, and I've got, all kinds of crazy stuff just in case something like that was to happen. And I've used it. I think I've actually had to use it. So it's just a risk that you take as a paranormal investigator. Again, don't take stuff from paranormal locations, whether you think it's innocent or not, whether it's a stone, a peat, like a sliver of wood, like it doesn't matter. You know, that's all porous energy that all absorbed fucking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of probably negative, turmoil and spirits and everything else. It's just one of those things where, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done it, but I have it, and it is what it is now. You know what I mean? So
right now, have you ever been in a situation though where like, has something ever spoke to you and said, do not come back here, or you know your place, or anything of the sort like that? Like you shouldn't be here, or like you kind of spoke on that earlier, or something said that to you, but like, has anything ever come to you in your sleep or in general saying, hey, back the fuck off?
oh yeah, not necessarily in my sleep. I've had some things that tell me like back the fuck off, like you're crossing a border that you don't want to cross. We don't want to be bothered. I'm gonna tell you one time. I'm gonna tell you like this will be the last time I'm telling you. You know what I mean? I've gotten that message. Like, look, fuck off, leave us the fuck alone. I'm like, all right, bro. Like, we cool. Like, I'll leave you alone. Let's go on to the next one. Like, for real.
Right.
I've had some disgruntled spirits and ones who don't want to be bothered and ones who don't want anything to do with anything that we're doing. You know what I mean? Probably the last one was at the let's see, the Linen Hotel, which is now a bed and breakfast, or I'm not a bed and breakfast, but it's now a restaurant, and it's the oldest running established restaurant in Michigan. Like it's ancient, like it's forever old. And I've been there a couple of times, and now they have this thing upstairs. It's called the loft or the crow's nest. I apologize. It's called the crow's nest upstairs, and we've seen Civil War spirits and that kind of thing, and actually played audio from phones and that kind of thing of like original Civil War music and that kind of thing, and just sat in silence because upstairs there used to be rooms for patrons and everybody else who would stop on the original railroad tracks and come in to stay. Okay. Now, mind you, this is going on during the Civil War. So you had everything from Yankees to, Confederates who would stay at this place, and we would play like, Confederate music, okay, which would really trigger a Yankee, right? So it'd be like, come on, talk to us. Do you like this music? That kind of thing. And all of a sudden you'd hear like, go fuck yourself. Get the fuck out of here. That kind of stuff. Like, and I'm not like exaggerating when I say the word fuck. Like they would be very disgruntled and very upset the fact that we're playing, Confederate music in a Union state. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that kind of stuff. But since then, there's been deaths in the family of the ownership of this place. Okay, that we try to reach out to, which we did, and it was very like it brought tears to my eyes, including my ex and other paranormal investigators that we revealed to the owner and the head proprietor of this location. There's always you're always going to pull strings and pull threads of, well, the heartstrings of people who own these locations and people who run and operate these locations of very old haunted establishments that they turn into like bed and breakfast or restaurants or anything like that. So you got to walk a really, really fine line of how to approach them after an investigation. I've got a lot of negative stuff that I have not told these proprietors and owners of locations just because I know it would probably break their heart or piss them off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I have the evidence, but I'm not going to sit there on a reveal, which is what I call a reveal. Like after the investigation, I can give them all the evidence and tell them what we found and et cetera, with video footage and written down footage, the whole 9 yards. And I sit down with them in a booth and be like, look, this happened, that happened, that happened. But I'm going to keep out like, look, I talked to your brother and your brother is pissed off. Your brother is here and he is disgruntled and angry about this, that, and the other thing. I'll keep that kind of stuff out. You know what I mean? Right. Because you're messing with things that, you're messing with family, you're messing with things that they thought they knew, that they are, just suddenly realizing that they don't know. Yeah. Okay. Or maybe he did something in the past that you didn't know about that might change your opinion of him now. So like, there's a lot. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but I mean, there's dozens of locations of things that I've found out and I've heard and have felt and I've got audio evidence and not so much video evidence, but audio evidence of things that I have not told these caretakers of locations. Right. Because they are affiliated family wise. You know what I mean? Because it's just that's not my forte. I'm not going to be the person who's going to give you a bunch of bad news or be like, hey, your family member's here. He died this way. This happened. He's pissed off, et cetera, et cetera. It's just, no. So.
I understand that. Now, a couple things before we go. What is your favorite investigation and what is your least favorite investigation?
My favorite investigation would probably be the USS Hudson, Bay City, Michigan. They call it the Gray Ghost.
What happened there?
Well, I've been there twice. My good friend Ann LaFay from Saginaw Area Paranormal System, SAPS, invited me to go there. I think it was for Father's Day. And I took my dad there and me and my ex, and we stayed the night there. And again, you're in a warship. I mean, it's a warship. It's a battleship. So, mind you, any kind of EMF or electronical equipment that you have is gonna flucker. It is. It's not gonna work properly because you're surrounded. You're in a metal cased shell, if you will, with nothing but electronics and wires running north, south, east, and west. So any kind of EMF that you're trying to run there is just not going to work. So you can just go ahead and cancel that out. So you go ahead and drop your EMF detector, any kind of like uh, uh, you know, well, electromagnetic field evidence, indicators that you have, just get rid of it. Okay, it's not going to work in a place like that. This place is it's a fortress, it's a shield, and it's all metal. So everything is going to trigger everything. So get rid of that shit. So you run straight EMF, or I'm sorry, you run straight digital recorder, okay, for any kind of audio, and then you're just running cameras and any kind of. You go into places like that, and you use your body as a vessel. Your body is your EMF detector. Seriously.
Okay.
Me being a little sensitive, like you when you get the goosebumps, when you feel something, when you just, you get that outright feeling of just like, this isn't right. Use that. Like that's your body telling you like, okay, something's not right. Something's out of whack. This place, now we stayed the night there. This place, bro, like I can't even begin to tell you. Now it's got a history. It's got a mad history. And it is a paranormal location. A lot of paranormal investigators go there in teams and things like that to go investigate this place because of what it is. And it stands true to everything that it is. It's wonderful. It's a beautiful place. It's just one of those places where it's like there's so much unfinished business there. You go there and you get mountains of paranormal evidence, but you leave knowing there's mountains of paranormal evidence that you did not get. You know what I mean?
Right.
You wish you could stay there for a week, like you do. So I went back after getting the call from Aunt LaFave to meet up with Steve Shippey from Haunted Saginaw, of course. You can see him on Paranormal, any kind of travel channel, Haunted in the Heartland, et cetera, et cetera. Right. Kind of mine. To go and be filmed and investigate again, and go through the haunted locations that were there, and even with him and his film crew, and to see that and to feel what I felt the exact first time, like I would love to just be able to just live there for like a week, like no bullshit.
Right.
Even when we went to bed, like we went to certain bunks and things like that, and my ex was sleeping above me in bunk beds, and my dad was over here in the corner, this person, and we still ran EMF, and we still ran digital recorders, and we still ran cameras, and like the whole night we're like, we wake up and be like, what the fuck was that? Did you hear that? Like, oh yeah, this person talked, that happened, this happened. I've got crazy evidence from the USS Hudson. So that's probably like, in terms of just it being what it is, probably my favorite. All right, my least favorite, I mean, it's hard to say a least favorite. My least favorite would probably be a cemetery of some sort.
Right.
A notoriously haunted cemetery, mind you. But like, you go there and like, you're not always going to go to a location and get crazy evidence or even get so much as a hey. You know what I mean? I could spend 3 hours in a location and not get dick. It just happens. It just, the time of the day, the time of the night, it is what it is. Like, it just doesn't happen on demand, So there's probably 2 or 3 different locations I've gone to. I've been, looking forward to, but have been disappointed. You know what I mean? There's not a bad location. Every location's fun and exciting. You go in there and it's like, yay, let's, we find something, and like I love the history, and like again, that's a Highland Paranormal Research. Like, I love doing the research. I love learning the history. I love learning about the people who lived there, died there, et cetera, et cetera. That's half of the location to me. So let me learn about the history of the place, and then let me go to the place and investigate it and use the knowledge that I have to, stir whatever may be there. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the problem with a lot of these, paranormal investigation teams. They just go in there and like, oh, give me a sign, or like, say something. Like, you don't know anything about the place. You haven't studied the place. You haven't learned the history about the place. The people who've died here. You don't know anything about this. Like, learn the history. Do your research. So there's really not a bad location. It's just like, it's hit and miss, and it really is, and that's just the way it is in the paranormal, like paranormal world. Like, it's hit and miss. So
now, lastly, before we go, from the paranormal guy right now, what movies do people need to watch this Halloween to get the scary factor going? Because there's a lot of trash horror flicks. I happen to be a big horror movie buff.
I know you are. Yeah. Yeah.
I have my favorites, and I have
As you see, my DVDs behind me.
yeah,
All
but
horror movies. That's my Halloween costume, by the way.
I love it. That's awesome. That is awesome. I probably won't be dressing up this year because I'm lame. But like, what are your go-to, like, for real scary Halloween movies? Like, for real, cool. Not the bullshit ones.
Right. I'll be honest with you. So last night I watched the new Goosebumps on Hulu. Now it's a series.
Okay.
So you're thinking,
like the books, like the Goosebumps books?
Goosebumps, minus the Jack Black, that kind of shit. Dude, it's actually like, it's pretty dope. It really is.
Okay.
So I was excited. I watched like the first 4 episodes, and like, of course, it was, it's going to leave it on a cliffhanger. So episode 5 hasn't come out yet. So I watched the new Goosebumps. There's also this thing, John Carpenter's Suburban Screams. Now it's John fucking Carpenter. I mean, it's John Carpenter.
Right.
So Suburban Screams, you can find that. I believe it's on Peacock or Prime. It's one of the two. I haven't watched it yet, but from the previews, it looks phenomenal. About 2 months ago, I watched Barbarian, which actually 90% of it was filmed in downtown Detroit.
Really?
So yeah. Oh yeah. So if you check that out, has Evan Asgard in it, who actually played Pennywise from Stephen King's It. He has this like it was a not a bed and breakfast, but it was a like a rental. Okay. And he got this room and blah blah blah. And it just completely turned out the way you did not expect it to turn out, and it's a horror movie. Okay. But it goes to this whole other level, and it's just like, it's upper echelon. It's really dope. The new Nun. I haven't seen it yet, but it looks phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. The new Poltergeist I want to see, really bad. Really, really, really bad. I'm sure you've seen the previews for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that looks ridiculous. Now, also on Peacock, I believe, the new series Camp Crystal Lake is the story of Jason Voorhees on how he became, and like the whole story premise.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
Yeah, it's called Camp Crystal Lake.
All right.
So it's either on Peacock or Prime, either way. But yeah, that looks super good. In terms of horror movies that I've seen, bro, like, obviously the original Halloween, the 2007 version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Freddy's Revenge, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, the original Stephen King's It, Trick or Treat's one of my all-time favorite Halloween movies. I know it's not super old; it came out in 2007, but still, like, it's just a cult classic. Let's see, Friday the 13th, New Blood. There's another one. It's called oh my goodness, give me a second. Oh, I forget what the name of it. I've got it here somewhere. Oh my goodness, I can't remember what the name of it. It's one of my favorites of all time.
That's usually how it goes, is you don't remember what you're thinking about. You know?
I think I said it last year, The Collector, this, that, the other thing.
The Collector was so fucked up. I saw
that. The Collector 2 was amazing.
Wow.
Yes. Black Phone was fantastic, even though it's not like horror, but it's like scary. My goodness. All the Stars. Let me see. Woman in Black 2 was really good. Free from Hell. Anything Rob Zombie, I'm a fan of.
Rob Zombie's Halloween. I did not like the sequel to that, but he made that shitty on purpose because he didn't want to make it.
Right.
He
didn't Joseph Abad that shit. Now, mind you, they actually just sold the rights again. Now, Joseph Abad just got done with this whole Halloween trilogy that he did, right?
Okay.
The newest, the 2019, 20, and 22 Halloween series. He just sold the rights to it. So there will be new Halloweens coming out with a different director and producer here, like within like the next year or so.
Interesting. Okay.
So you will see new Halloween movies coming out here in like a relatively short amount of time.
Nice.
Yeah. Yes. High Tension is what I was thinking of. High Tension. You remember last year, I said it was a foreign film. You're like, oh, it's a foreign film?
I do vaguely remember that. Film. I do. Yeah.
It's a foreign film. It was actually done in France. It's a French film,
Okay.
but it is, if you get the chance to see the Americanized versions, dude, it's so ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's one of my favorites of all time. I will put it up there in my top 5. It's called High Tension. Fantastic movie. Way ahead of its time. It came out 15, 16 years ago, something like that. Yeah. Recovery was really good. All the hostels are really good. The rings are really good. Like, I could just go on and on. I own like 260 horror movies. So like, there's really not a bad one in my book. Even the B ones are really pretty good. But yeah, in terms of like original classics and stuff like that, obviously I'm gonna go with your fucking Mount Rushmores of Michael, Jason, Freddy, and Leatherface. I
Right.
mean, it is what it is. It's hard to go wrong that way. So
I have a hard time with newer horror flicks just because I don't feel like they're all that great, but there are a couple within the last decade that I really did enjoy, which was the original Insidious. None of the sequels.
Oh yeah.
The original Insidious was fantastic, but the sequels to that were garbage. All of them.
Yeah.
All of them were garbage.
Okay. 3 was okay.
3 was okay?
Yeah, 3 was okay.
I'm not even sure. I did see that one.
You did. Oh, I'm sure you did. Yeah.
And then
right now I'm kind of in like the
Sinister.
stage of like your Netflix horror movies and your Netflix horror series and
Right.
your Prime horror series and that kind of stuff. That's kind of like what I'm into right now. I've seen every horror movie that has ever been fucking made.
Right.
I have probably 15 times. I really have. I like checking out like there's a network, it's called Shudder. Okay.
Okay.
It's all horror all the time. So it's just nothing but horror movies constantly.
Nice.
So I watch like a lot of that kind of stuff. And they're B-rated horror movies, but like you're gonna catch a dime or you're gonna catch a gem once in a while. Like 1 out of every 6 is like, oh wow, dude, like that was dope. Like I love that. Like great. But the other 5 are like,
right.
Gem or 2. But that's just how it is. That's how it is with horror movies. Like most horror movies now are B-rated, They're all like
terrible for the most part.
Oh, they're terrible. But like
other than like, like I said, there was Insidious that I liked. The original Sinister I really liked, but the sequels to Sinister were garbage. Oh God, what was the other one that I really liked? Shoot. Man, I can't remember now. There's the Annabelle movies. The original Annabelle was dope.
Which all plays a part with The Conjuring. Like
The Conjuring, yes.
The Conjuring, The Nun, Annabelle,
yes.
et cetera, et cetera.
Those are pretty good.
I kind of like how they did that directly, making like one is affiliated by the other, and one is affiliated by the other, and they all are, connect coincidentally with like one another. So I like how they kind of like base like Annabelle Revelation, which is like one, which is how Annabelle started back in like the late 1800s. The little girl, the doll, she got hit by the car, and all of a sudden, like, the house was haunted, and then it went through its progression.
Yep.
And became 1950s, 1970s, 1990s until now. And then even with those, you're going to get like little bits and pieces of The Nun and how it's going to play a part and how it took place over, Spain. Okay. And then you're going to get, The Conjuring, and like they all play a part with one another. Of course, and Lorraine Warren, or now passed for RIP, and Lorraine Warren, but like, all that stuff. Like, it's just, I think it's fantastic. I think they did a really good job with it, production wise, with it playing a part with one another. Each 4 individual stories playing a part with each individual story.
Yes. Yes, for sure. I like when they give you a little background. I do like a prequel to the sequel and all that. Like I dig it, but before we go, let's get a plug on your stuff. So like people don't think like you and I are just telling stories right now. You actually have websites and social media where people can see some of the things we've been talking about on the show. So let's go there.
All right. Well, first, my main account, I'm an Instagram guy. So like my Instagram account is HPR_48357. And I post like not just paranormal stuff, but I do a lot of my pumpkin carvings and haunted stuff and anything scary and macabre. Like it's just like that's my horror site, which sucks because I got deleted at like 1,200. Thanks Instagram. But anyway, I got deleted like 1,200, and all of a sudden I'm at like 90 followers. But like I had a lot more than that at the time. Facebook is literally Highland Paranormal Research, and then you can find my my website at HighlandParanormalResearch.com. And yeah, I mean, those are my three main ones right there: HighlandParanormalResearch.com, HPR_4357, and Highland Paranormal Research on Facebook.
And you'll see some of the footage that Michael and I were just talking about during the show.
Yeah.
We're full of shit. These things really happen.
If you can't find the footage on mine, you're going to find it on Ben Goldman's at Afterlife Road Productions. He also has Instagram, Facebook, his own website, the whole 9 yards. Well established, well documented. Very, 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 very nice guy. I love him to death. He's like family to me. And yeah, like if you can't find it on my site, you can find it on his site. And we collaborate quite often. So yeah, we just communicate. We do our thing. We go on investigations together. We exchange information together and that kind of thing. So yeah, you can find anything that you want to find on either his or my site. So
awesome, man. Well, Mike Welch, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you doing this again. It's always fun to do this, and it's always good to chat with you.
It's a pleasure to do it again.
I've been knowing
for the invite.
I've been knowing you for a couple of decades now, so we,
yeah, man,
we're gonna do the damn
Halloween
thing.
Edition.
At some point, we got to get you back on the show because, believe it or not, Mr. Mike Welch here has a lot to say about things that we talk about on the show normally. We won't get into that.
Man.
If you really listen to the show, you know what I'm talking about.
Not just a pretty face.
Yeah, so let's we'll run this back again on a different front and whatnot. But thank you so much. Until next time,
my friend.
Peace, love, and liberty. Check out the Infinite Zeal Syndicate on Twitter. Check out Anarchy Wear on Twitter. Actually, Anarchy Wear is on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Let's plug the we got to plug the sponsors. Check those guys out. They're wonderful. And y'all be good, man. Have a happy Halloween. Have a safe Halloween, and do all the good things in life. Love y'all. Be good.
Love y'all. Be good. Happy Halloween.